You're listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians. Welcome to this episode where I'm going to bring together two things that I absolutely adore. The first one is equestrianism and horses and riding. And the second one, and this is an absolute all-time love of my life, and that is chocolate. So before I get going, I just want to thank a couple of people for their 5-star reviews. And the first one's Nancy, and the second one is Saddlefitter7. So Nancy and Saddlefitter7, if you email me, my email's in the description box, or if you're listening on a podcast platform that doesn't have a description box, then it's info@tracycolenlp.com. And then you're welcome to join us on the workshop on the 10th of July, where I'm going to lead you through a selection of techniques to enhance your mindset and gain better confidence, the same way that I would do with my private clients. Anyone else who would like to join us, simply write me a 5-star review. Email me, because I don't get notifications to be told that you've reviewed. Email me at info@tracycolenlp.com. Tell me you've done it, and then you're in. We will record on July the 10th on Zoom. Actually, we may not record. It depends how many people turn up. If everyone turns up, then I won't record. But if a few people can't make it, I'll record it. But it's only going out to the people who are exclusively invited by writing those 5-star reviews. So now back to today's topic, which is all about chocolate. Now, this is scientifically backed, and I'll drop a link to the papers in the description box. It's a way of riding smarter, staying calmer, learning tests and courses faster, and it's all to do with dark chocolate. So various studies have come out of Loma Linda University about dark chocolate and about how it gives your brain a fabulous boost. So let's dig into the details. So we're talking here about chocolate, dark chocolate with 70% or more cacao. So if you're a milk chocolate lover or a white chocolate lover, then you might have to convert, because this 70% plus chocolate actually can enhance brain function. And it's not to do with the sugar rush. Initially, the researchers thought it was to do with getting the glucose to your brain. But actually, it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be a direct effect of the cacao itself. So what they did was they gave the volunteers 48 grams of dark chocolate. So if you think about one of those kind of slim envelope size bars, they're about 100 grams. So it's about half of one of those bars. And then they put all the electrodes on their scalp. They did an EEG, so the electroencephalogram, which measures brainwaves. And they found this measurable, significant increase in something called gamma brainwaves. Gamma brainwaves are the ones that are being used when we are very focused. So we're really focused on a task. We're hyper concentrated. We're in it. We're in that zone. We've reached that peak performance zone, if you like, in our brain. So whatever you're doing, it's done with that finely tuned focus. So these are quite fast brainwaves. They're quite high frequency, and they're associated with learning, memory, and neuroplasticity as well. So neuroplasticity means that you're making new associations, new neural networks. You're improving your brain power, basically. Now, let's just have a quick reflection on different brainwaves so you can put it into context. Everyday brainwaves when you're just going about normal activity are called beta waves. They're a little bit slower. A little bit slower still are the alpha waves, which are relaxation waves. So you're not kind of zonked out or anything like that. You're in a very light relaxation, a light meditation, maybe a very light hypnosis. Under that, you've got theta waves, which are deeper still, and that would be a deeper meditation, a deeper hypnosis. It's just before we go to sleep kind of thing. Sleep, even slower waves still, very deep. So top of the shop, we've got the gamma waves. And what was interesting was that the volunteers ate the chocolate and then the gamma waves were measured. And even 30 minutes after they ate the chocolate, the gamma waves were still very active and very evident. So what I found even more kind of exciting was that the gamma waves were still very evident and persisted for over an hour, up to 2 hours even. So if we think about it from a riding perspective, then if you think about your ability to memorize a dressage test in the moment, or a jump course, or maybe even a showing routine that you want to memorize, obviously it depends on our brain's ability to process and retain that information when we're under pressure as well. And this study highlights the fact that something as simple as, they say, even a quarter of one of those bars, about 28 grams, might just give your brain the boost it needs during preparation. So when you are trying to learn something, it could also be that you're learning in that you're training yourself, or you're having a lesson, or you're training the horse. But interestingly, these pieces of chocolate are also very useful when you're reviewing a session as well. So let's get into it in an even more equestrian style. So they found in a separate study, the same researchers found in a separate study, that habitual chocolate consumption, which I love. So you don't need to do this thing once. You can keep going with that chocolate consumption. But in a study of about 900 adults, which is significant, I'm liking this study even more. So we've got habitual chocolate consumption led to cognitive performance, increased cognitive performance. And those people who regularly consumed chocolate scored higher on tasks related to visual and spatial memory. So trying to remember a course or a dressage test or a showing show or anything like that. But also they scored higher on tasks that involved working memory, scanning and tracking. That'd be good for hacking, wouldn't it? And trail riding, and abstract reasoning. So in short, chocolate seems to support all the skills that we need for learning and spatial awareness, two things that every rider uses when they are teaching themselves, having a lesson, prepping for a test, walking a jumping course, or even adjusting to a new venue. You are still learning the venue, if you like. Okay, the layout of the school or the arena is pretty much the same, but you're getting used to the environment as well. So regular, moderate, I'm not going to say what moderate is, but moderate intake of very high quality dark chocolate may support our brains in doing the very complex mental gymnastics that equestrian sports really do demand. So let's have a think about how you would put it into practice. So before you start to memorize your dressage test, before you start doing your course or having your lesson, you eat only a small amount of chocolate. I'm not sure if this is dose dependent. In other words, you get a bigger boost the more you eat. But the researchers, let's stick with the science, they could get down to, 10 to 20 grams. That's a couple of pieces, isn't it? I think I'd go for a bit more, but it's up to you. You can eat that roughly 30 minutes beforehand. And then the gamma waves will be really kicking in. You can then, if you want to do, pair that chocolate consumption, maybe with doing something like visualization as part of your prep process. Now, obviously, you could have more chocolate on a separate occasion and do your visualization then. But obviously, if you want to make sure that your sugar isn't too high, you could make use of that initial piece of chocolate. Because when you do that, when you want to visualize and you sit down and you close your eyes and you mentally ride through your test or your course or your lesson or whatever it is, you're not just rehearsing, you're really training your brain to retain the sequence, the feel, the contact, everything about it, even the timing. And the chocolate, because of neuroplasticity, is able to do that and help you to encode it better. The same as if you were to review a video of yourself after your ride, do the same. Eat a square of dark chocolate, watch the footage with intention, and then reflect. Because the flavonoids this time will help you to focus your attention and can lead to even deeper learning. So here's another reason why chocolate is so relevant for equestrians. Riding, especially in competition or high pressure riding or anything where you're putting yourself under some kind of stress, if we like, stress can shut down parts of the brain responsible for higher thinking and reasoning and memory, all those things that we could actually do with whilst we're riding or competing. And that's where dark chocolate's anti-inflammatory and mood-boosting effects also come in. So the cacao contains the flavonoids, and these are chemicals that we know to reduce stress and inflammation, and they also support the activation of genes that are related to the immune response and to brain signaling. So in kind of everyday terms, it means that eating chocolate helps your body and brain handle stress better. Something that I'm sure most riders can appreciate, and I'm just loving this. The more I read about this, the better it gets. So it might be that before you warm up, that's also a reason to have a square of dark chocolate. Not only to lift your mood, not only for memory, not only for learning, but in some ways it increases that equilibrium, that stabilization in your brain. So here's a routine that you can try. 30 minutes before your practice session or your test or your show jumping round or whatever you're doing, you eat a square or two of the 70% or higher dark chocolate. You take then 5 or 10 minutes to mentally visualize your ride, whatever it might be. Then you go and do the ride with all your gamma waves fluttering nicely. And then after your ride and after your cool down, you reflect. You might need another piece of chocolate to boost that reflection. I'm not sure if that's a professional opinion or not, but you help then to consolidate the memory of what you've learned and what to work on. What I love about all of this, as for any mindset procedure, is that consistency is key. So you've got to keep eating the chocolate. Hopefully, if chocolate isn't your thing, you get so used to doing this, putting yourself in a particular style of brainwave before you ride, that becomes a habit and you won't actually need the chocolate, truth be told. but the chocolate could be still an excellent trigger. So whatever you're doing, however you're riding, then have a little think about using strategic chocolate consumption. Let me know how you get on. I'm definitely going to try this. I love the consistency idea. Definite one for me. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you again really soon.